Right now, let's take you to your top story on this Tuesday morning, the murder trial of Brian Walshe. Jury selection beginning this morning for the accused killer. Prosecutors say that he murdered and dismembered his wife, Anna. Now, her body has never been found, and we do know that he's got support from his mommy, Diane, who was in court on Monday during his final pretrial hearing. Diane Walshe, you see right there, looks a lot like her son, doesn't she? She allegedly hired a private investigator to look into Brian's wife, Anna, the mother of her grandchildren. So she could become a case witness. Prosecutors say they plan to introduce evidence as proof that Brian suspected his wife was having an affair. We've heard talk about this, but apparently he must have talked about it with mom, right? Well, his defense team argues that he had no knowledge that his mother had hired the private investigator, and the attorneys argued about some text messages too. Take a listen.
Why are they seeking to put this text message history in? They're putting it in because they want to wave it around and say she was having an affair and he knew and he killed her. That's what they want to do. And I think if there was actual evidence or proof, other than speculation, that he had seen these messages, was angry about them, we'd be in a different posture. But that is not the case. And so why are they trying to put them in? And hearsay, her messages, her statements are hearsay. So what other purpose is it coming in for?
More to follow on this as to individual text messages, and I want you to be focused on whether or not they are being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, and if they are, what your positions are, and see if you can make some headway on this.
So the opening statements are set to kick off on December 1st. So they're going to pick the jury and then enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday, and then it's time to get down to business. So let's talk a bit about the trial and the relationship between Brian Walshe and his mom, Diane. Let's bring in our guest in the studio with me. I have attorney Lisa Bonner, and joining me remotely, attorney Rick Grundy. Great to have you both on this Tuesday. So let's start with mom and son. Lisa, what do you make of this relationship?
It's a very interesting mommy-son relationship, and the mother is doing the mama bear thing. She is jumping in to protect her son, and she apparently, it looks like they did speak, right? And it looks like he was confiding in his mother, which is a little odd because if you talk to most men, they don't really talk to their mother about their marital issues. So that just also, you know, had a very strange, lends itself to a very strange dynamic between them. And she went in and started doing what mama bears do, and let me help you, let me get into this and see if I can uncover something. And she took it upon herself, allegedly, to hire an investigator to look into this, which is a little odd.
Right, Lisa.
Very odd.
And so let's talk about how the prosecutors may use mommy as the witness. Rick Grundy, you happen to have served in this county where this trial is taking place as the head of the homicide unit. So talk to me here. What do you think about mom? Are you calling her if it's your case?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's good information there to show, you know, I think the defense is going to try and dirty up the victim here and say there's no body been found in this. And they're going to try and push a agenda that she maybe took off and you don't have proof beyond a reasonable doubt that she's even dead. So to the extent that they are engaging an investigator to try and get evidence to dirty her up, definitely is going to be help along those lines. There's a mountain of evidence against this individual. So it's a situation where the defense is going to throw up whatever they can. From what I've heard, you may want to, if I'm the judge, have a voir dire of the mother and see what she has to say with respect to these text messages and the private investigator and her correspondence and discussions with her son as to whether there's a reasonable belief that he would have had knowledge of these. That is a bridge that they're going to have to cross, I think, to get this evidence in. But I got to tell you, don't get distracted as the prosecution, because, again, they're going to be reaching for the fruit at the outer edge of the limbs here because they have a very strong case against them.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that, Rick. Lisa, tell me, do you agree in terms of the evidence against Mr. Brian Walshe?
I do. Apparently, they found a hacksaw with bone fragments. They found a blood-stained knife near his home. And so that does lend itself to the fact that he was allegedly involved in this. And they, again, it is the defense's duty to shed reasonable doubt on this. All they have to do is convince one juror that he might not have been involved. So they're going to be reaching for everything that they can because the evidence against Brian Walshe appears to be very strong.
Yes. Lisa and Rick, I want to go back to one of the pretrial hearings. I'm sure you both remember this. This was one of the moments where the prosecutor gave us a little sampling of the Google searches this guy did. Yes. Let's take a look.
How long before a body starts to smell? At 4:58 a.m., how to stop a body from decomposing. At 5:20 a.m., he searched how to embalm a body. At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to.
Oh, the digital footprint, Rick Grundy, how damning are these text messages in your view?
I think my favorite there is how to get rid of a dead body if you have to. So I read into that Brian had to at that particular point in time. Even in a situation like this where you may try and say, well, he knew the focus was on him and he started Googling things, the timestamps are hours after this woman was last seen alive. And not only did they have evidence of this hacksaw, they have video of him purchasing the hacksaw and 100 garbage bags and rags to clean up. Again, it just piles one upon the other. You've got brick after brick after brick to build a solid wall here.
Yeah, you really do with this guy. Lisa, we know recently he was in a mental institution. There was a diagnosis of incompetency. Now he's competent again. And it's interesting, it all came right after that incident in the Norfolk County Jail where he was shanked. Survived, obviously, but still he was attacked. And then suddenly the incompetency came. Are you expecting any issues with competency to arise with him here and now that we're getting really on the eve of the trial?
It really doesn't seem like it, right? The timing is a little suspicious, and it looks like that was a little diversionary tactic that probably, well, it looks like it didn't go over at all. And so I don't think that there's much of a challenge there because this is something that probably would have come up earlier in the case in terms of his fitness to stand trial. So it looked a little suspicious with respect to the time, and he was given, it looks like he was given a pretty extensive examination, and he was found fit to stand trial, so I don't think there's going to be much that they can go on. Again, they're trying everything that they can. Let's not also forget there was a video of him allegedly, or someone disposing of large garbage bags around the time of that. So as Brian, excuse me, as the,
yes,
he mentioned,
yes.
Rick, sorry, Rick mentioned that there is a mound of evidence that has appeared for him, and so they've got a pretty tall order to try and overcome.
Yeah, all this evidence about the conduct after the fact. Rick Grundy, having been a prosecutor, served in that role for many years. There are some people, his defense team being some of those people, say, oh, well, we don't have on his body, so look out. What case do we have? What do you say to that, Rick?
Well, I'll remind them that it was approximately 20 years ago that the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office had a prosecution where the first person in Massachusetts was convicted of first-degree murder without a body, defendant by the name of Joseph Romano, who killed his wife and disposed of her body using a saw blade, an electric saw that actually pulled her DNA into the casing of that saw. So there's a lot of ways to prove that a person is deceased. In this situation, we have various dumpsters from all the way from the South Shore of Massachusetts to the North Shore of Massachusetts, where Mommy Dearest lived, that they recovered items which have DNA tested positive for the victim. And you have a mom with 3 young children that has never been seen before. The defendant indicated that she got on a plane. There's no record of that plane. Again, it's thrown up in the air, but it's just, there's nowhere to land. The attorney in this is Larry Tipton, who's a very experienced in it, And I think, remember, there's a difference between competency and not guilty by insanity. And he's made a decision not to go the way of not guilty by insanity because he appreciates the fact that there's planning and lots of evidence of it. And that's just a way to put something forth in a trial when there's nowhere else to go. They're going to try and go somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. A really great insight.